going on, everybody? C4 here. Welcome back to the channel, and today we are here for episode 2 of our Flashback Pink Slips series. And this year we are essentially just, it's going to be the only year like this. We are starting in that 02 season. We did the introductory episode. You met some players. Ryan Leaf, one of the biggest busts in NFL history, is our quarterback. You got Kevin Dyson, who was, you know, if you're old enough to remember the Titans in the Super Bowl. Was it the Super Bowl? It was the Super Bowl. He was like 1 yard short. I mean, there's obviously a lot of pains there. We got Albert Hainsworth, Monster, Andre Dyson. Someone straight up said Mike Eccles, like, helped coach them football. I was like, okay, that's sick. But now, for most of the part, though, no one really knows these players. So, for those of you who don't know, we're going to be relocating the Houston Texans to San Antonio, and we're going to be relocating our Tennessee Titans team to Houston to become the Oilers, because it just kind of fits the aura of this being retro and flashback. That's as flashback as you can get for a relocation team. So today we're going to be simulating this whole first year to get everything relocated, but I didn't want to have this video come out so soon because I think we dropped this video on Sunday, maybe Saturday, but I think it was Sunday. But unfortunately, I went to log in today and the Origin servers are offline, which means I have no access to my online franchises. I was like, oh great, my daily upload streak, which is consistently for the last like 3 years, is going to be broken. I have nothing I can play. And I don't really feel like doing any draft stuff until the Combine. And I was like, oh, I remember, because I had to become 2 owners. This series, the Pink Slips, is going to be an offline franchise, so we can hop in and play that. So, unfortunately, I didn't get a couple more days for you guys to kind of brainstorm in the comments on the initial video, which I wanted some feedback. So I was able to still pull some of the top upvoted feedbacks, and I will share with them today. I'm not going to, like, you know, I don't want to blow smoke up my own ass, but I feel like the best way to take ideas and suggestions from the comments is to read them and get inspired by them and try to turn them in a way that I think they'll work. So I got 3. I pulled 3 comments that I really like that I think should be viewed. The first one is just a general run from Yuki. He says, for added difficulty, every divisional game and playoff game should be on all Madden 2. Because we added the new dimension that we're starting on all pro, so it's not as super difficult and strict and challenging as the Rip City franchise. But if we win a game and get a 5-star performance, the next game has to be all Madden. I want it to be a little bit more challenging. I don't want it to get as one-sided as it did earlier in the year when we did our first Pink Slip series with, you know, Tom Savage and all those guys. So then I also like this one, is that once we make the playoffs, everything goes in all Madden, so it's that much more difficult. So we are officially adding that into the rules. Thank you, Yuki. Another comment was from Braden, and it was about the loser wheel. So we've never had a loser wheel when it comes to Pink Slips. Now, I'm going to be honest, I'm trying to think back to all the episodes we've ever done on Pink Slips and on stream. Well, I'll just say we've done 80 games. 80 games in the history. There's might have been 3 or 4, maybe, that we've been on the receiving end of a 5-star ass whooping. So I'm saying right now, don't expect to see the 5-star loser wheel a whole lot. But I think now that we know that that's there, the fear, it's that great white shark in the water. It's most likely not there, but what if it is? So we had a couple ideas that we'd have to draft a known bust, was what I was thinking, that if we spin that wheel, we'll get a randomized pick, and whatever pick we get has to be a proven bust from that round. I'll go back to Wikipedia and find like the least contributing member from whatever pick we have to burn on a bust. You guys like that? And Braden came up with some pretty good ideas for the loser wheel as well, with great ties back to the channel. He had random player gets caught with Lane Johnson juice and gets suspended for a random amount of games. I like that. Random player gets an injury at practice, misses a random amount of games. I like that. He did have one that was like random player pulls Devontae Davis and retires at halftime. I don't want to go that extreme because I feel like that could, you know, I feel like if that happened once throughout the entirety of the series, yeah, but I don't want that to be a potential option on the wheel. I don't know, I could be persuaded to add that in because it is going to be so infrequent that we get on the receiving end of a 5-star, but I feel like that might be a little too extreme. But I also like the last one here, random player demands a trade. So I know for sure for the loser wheel, I'm going to add Lane Johnson juice, I'm going to add injury, and I'm going to add demand a trade for sure. And you know, if you guys got any other ideas, we still got probably a widget or 2 left on the loser wheel. So again, keep, you know, sending in those ideas in the comments. And the last little bit from the feedback is kind of the biggest one for today's video, because this video we're going through all of the first season and the off season, and that is from Cole. And I'm gonna kind of take what he said, and I think maybe what he was misunderstood. I feel like most of your comments about what I was trying to ask about how do we do the draft picks, it kind of they all kind of look like this, and it's not the direction I really want to go. I don't want my own picks to be held hostage, and anything that's involving picks just don't come out of thin air. I have to like find a way to trade and acquire picks, and that's where things get a little murky. Like, what team do I pick? What happens? Because Cole said we should have to earn our picks with the amount of stars acquired during the season. I kind of like this direction of season performance influencing our offseason. Now, I don't necessarily think with his idea, as you can see, 40 to 44 stars, we get a 5th, 6th, 7th round pick. I just don't know. Like, I don't know how I'm going to acquire more picks, and I don't really want my own picks hostage. But I do think the biggest issue that has to come into this series is willpower. The willpower not to draft the studs every single round. You know what I'm saying? Like, if we had the 0-2 draft, Tony Romo's an undrafted free agent. We desperately need a quarterback. What is holding me from, in the 5th, 6th, or 7th round, drafting Tony Romo and know I'm getting a bona fide stud right away? You know, I need something that's based upon my performance in the year, something like Cole suggested, maybe based upon star performance, and rather having those star performances reflect in what pick I can use. I think those star performances should be reflected into what kind of player I can draft in each individual round. Because I need something that makes it so I can't just draft the best players. Because or else year 2, year 3 of this, we're already going to have like the best young team because we're hitting on all the future NFL stars that we already know how their careers turned out in the draft. So I definitely want maybe some more ideas on how to refine that. Obviously, for today's video, we're kind of have to go through the motions and probably not apply what is going to be applied to future drafts for our Pink Slip series. But I think something based upon performance has to reflect what players we can get in the draft. I think the first base rule that I'm just laying out right now is that we have to draft a player in the round that they are projected. So I can't get Tony Romo as a UDFA. The only way I can get Tony Romo as a UDFA is in free agency, like everybody else. The only way that I can get, for example, Robert Mathis is another one, Colts legend, like 100 and some sacks, the master of the forced fumble. He's like a 5th round pick. If I desperately need an edge rusher, I can't just reach and draft Robert Mathis in the 3rd or 4th round. I have to wait to the 5th round, and hopefully he is there when we pick. That is how I'm going to approach this year's draft, and I feel like going forward, that could be the framework of we always have to stay within our round, but I think maybe some way we can work it so that our performance can indicate what player we can draft in that 1st round, or at least our performance can indicate if we can draft a stud in that round, the best player available, or how do we do it from there? There's still a lot more we need to figure out, but I think that that's the direction I want to go for drafting versus what Cole suggested, where our performance kind of hinges on our own picks or having to find a way to acquire more picks. That gets a little confusing, so that is where we're at. But keep the ideas coming. I'm always reading the comments, and I'm excited now that we got through all that to get into our first year and relocate the Houston Texans to San Antonio and the Tennessee Titans back to Houston to become the Oilers. So as we go through this first season, we're just going to sim out through all the games. It's going to be, we've done a lot of these 1-year relocations because every Pink Slips mostly starts as a relocation. We usually win a game or 2. So as we win those games, I will pop up like we just actually won a Pink Slips. We will find out what our star grade is and hopefully steal away a player that we know of. I don't just want to get players that look good that no one's ever heard of before. But yeah, I'm saying hopefully we can get 3 games. We are 65 overall. My expectations are not really lofty. I'm thinking between 1 and 2, but maybe we could get 3. But I'm excited to get through this year, and let's get into it. Oh shit, we actually won a game. In week 2, we won a game. We got a weekly award here. Ryan Leaf going for 4 touchdowns. We had 2 breakout player scenarios. One from the tight end, Aaron Kinney, and he went from normal to a star dev. And we had a Sermon, a linebacker, and he got a dev trait to a star. Okay. All right. I was just here to import our draft class. That's what this week was for, our 03 draft class that had some really nice looking players there that I want to break down at a future time. But, let's look. I don't want to spend, we already had the big long intro. But we know a lot of the familiar names here. Carson Palmer, Troy Polamalu's big name, 1st round anyways. We got Namdi Asma, who I'm not touching with a 10-foot pole. But there's a lot of names, and I love the work that Carson did getting the real portraits in. I think that obviously there's not going to be portraits for every single player, but the ones that are there are really, really nice looking. And that is not a sexual compliment. Me saying they're nice looking. It just looks nice to have it all tied together. Either way, we got a week 2 victory, 28-26 over the Colts. That's a divisional victory, so that could very well be 3-4 star performance based upon just that number alone. So we're gonna go calculate that and figure out what player we're gonna take away from the Indianapolis Colts with an early win here in the 2002 season. So we are looking at this Colts game. It's a victory. It's a divisional victory, so we're starting right off the bat with 2 stars. We won the turnover battle. That is a half star. Looking at our actual team performance, somehow Ryan Leaf had 4 touchdowns, which earns him a half star. Looking at the receiving, Aaron Kenny went up a dev trait, had 2 huge games, 7 catches, 96 yards, but the 2 touchdowns earns him half a star. And then on the defense, just missing out on the sacks, but we had 2 total interceptions. Andre Dyson and Tony Beckham both with picks. An interception's worth half a star each. 2 picks gives us 1 star, which on the day gives us a 4.5 star performance victory over the Indianapolis Colts. Unfortunately, we always round down to try to make it a little bit more difficult. So it's a 4-star performance over the Colts. That is a +8 opportunity to upgrade one of our players and steal away a nice player from the Colts. So here's the trade that I was able to cook up. We got Mike Mamula and Sermon, who actually just got that dev trait last week. Sorry, thank you. I mean, it makes better value for the Colts anyways. But we're going to straight swap Mamula, who is, known bust, 29.65. 0 points to upgrade or swap for Raheem Brock, who's in his rookie year, hidden dev trait out of Temple. Raheem Brock went on to have a really nice career, over 40 sacks. Couple 6.5 sack seasons. Actually, his breakout year was in 2010 with Seattle, where he had 9. But it's just a nice little upgrade there, kind of a depth upgrade. And then we're flipping Sermon for Mike Peterson, who spent some time. I always thought of him more of a Jacksonville Jaguar, but he had 160 tackles for the Indianapolis Colts in the 2000 season. Either way, Sermon is 70 star. You look at Peterson, who is a 78 star. That is going to use all 8 of the points that we earned. And you look at someone like Peterson, went on to have a fantastic career. Over 1,200 total tackles, 70 TFLs, 21.5 sacks, 19 picks. A really, really good linebacker. And considering how weak our linebacking core is, this trade makes a whole lot of sense. It's happened again in week 6. Beating the Denver Broncos 26-20. Real nice looking performance. I don't know if Ryan Leaf's having a resurrection here, but we might not have to draft a quarterback in year 1. That's all I'm saying. So we're going to get our score rating here. Find out what kind of player we can get an upgrade from Denver, but I'm 2 wins already. We're not even halfway through the season. So looking at this game, we got the victory, which is a 1 star within itself. At the turnovers, way better. Didn't turn the ball over at all. That's a half-star performance. Look at the individual player stats. First up for the Titans, over 300 passing yards for Ryan Leaf gives us a half-star there. On the receiving standpoint, Kevin Dyson, 7 catches, 112 yards, so over 100 yards receiving, is another half-star. And on the defense, much like our first victory, it is both Tony Beckham and Andre Dyson getting interceptions. 2 picks worth half a star each gives us 1 full star, which is 2, 3.5. So it's a 3-star performance, a +6 upgrade from the Denver Broncos. So we had a couple options here. There was 2 ways about it. We got to go with the Denver Broncos and upgrade our left tackle and center position just by a couple points, or we make our first real stamp here as a Pink Slips move, which is what we're going to do. We're going to take Carl Pickens, who's a veteran wide receiver, 32, old and, he's not super slow, but he's old. And we're going to flip him for Ashley Lilly, 22-year-old rookie out of Hawaii, 69 overall deep threat, 93 speed, 94 acceleration, 80 catching. It's about time we start to at least get some guys who fit the identity of our Pink Slips players. Another victory. 3. This is my cap. We're at week 12, but we're able to knock off the divisional rival Jacksonville Jaguars 28-21. I did the scoring really quickly. We win. It was a divisional win. That's 2 stars. Common trend. We win the plus-minus every single time we actually get a victory. So that's a half star. Going to the individual awards, I am shocked that Ryan Leaf is playing like this, but it is what it is. So he gets a half star for 3 touchdowns on the game. From a receiving standpoint, Drew Bennett, 6 catches, over 100 yards because it went over 100. That is also a half star. And looking at the defense, didn't get anything for sacks, but Mike Peterson, a player that we won away from the Colts, had an interception. That secures a half star, which gives us plus 4 stars on the day. That is a +8 upgrade from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Over our player swap, we're going to upgrade on the offensive line. It means the Jags, we're going to see them a lot. So there's going to be a lot of opportunity throughout this series to steal their players because I really kind of wanted John Henderson. But this makes sense. And usually for pink slips, a guard's a guard, a tackle's a tackle, an end's an end, and an outside linebacker's an outside linebacker, pretty much left or right. You know, it's about the same. So we're going to actually flip Mathis, veteran offensive lineman out of BYU, to the Jacksonville Jaguars, and we're going to get Maurice Williams in return. 73 overall, star dev tackle out of Michigan. Just makes a lot of sense to start trying to invest a little bit in the offensive line. We finished the regular season. What I did, I went in our staff. I got rid of our head coach. Obviously, if we're going to be making this our base team, we don't want, in 2002, Mike Vrabel being our head coach. There's a chance we might draft him. And I actually got rid of our team trainer because he had really bad regression. We finished with a 3-13 record. 3 wins is what I thought would be our max, and we actually hit that, which is pretty good. I don't know if we're going to have the #1 pick. I don't know what the tiebreak. I assume it's us because we have the losses, right? Carolina has 2 ties, one of those weird Madden years. But we're going to have that #1 overall pick. Carson Palmer definitely in play if we want to get better at quarterback right away. Looking at our stats here through his first year sim, I was actually impressed with Ryan Leaf, to be honest with you. I don't know if this is a little bit of a rebuild, a career rebuild or not, but 26 touchdowns, 9 picks, 3,700 yards. Given the weapons we had, I was impressed. No matter what way you color it, I was impressed. We did not run the ball well at all. Holcomb, 600 yards, 3 touchdowns. Receiving, Drew Bennett, 62 catches, 900 yards, 7 touchdowns. Dyson, 888 and 5. Aaron Kinney, 70 catches, 750 and 6. He also got a dev trade going from normal to a star. Ashley Lally, who we brought in late, 57 catches, 673 and 6. I don't know exactly what numbers he brought over from the Broncos, but that still looks pretty goddamn respectable for a rookie. Offensive line was not good. Give up a lot of sacks. Skripanek, 18 sacks, is not good. Defensively, Rocky Boyman, 131 tackles, 11 TFLs, 4.5 sacks. He was a rookie, so there's a chance we're getting some depth traits. We might have just had a diamond in the rough for us on the defense. Andre Dyson, 101 tackles, had 5 interceptions this season, was really, really good. Might have played himself into a dev trait upgrade. Sacks were definitely down. Robert Smith, 4.5, 3.5 Peterson, 3.5 for Albert Hainsworth, who had a hidden dev, emerged as a superstar. I mean, wasn't surprised at all. Literally, in his time with Tennessee, he was the most dominant defensive tackle in the league. Maybe the freakiest defensive tackle we've ever seen when he was in his prime. So we got a big-time baller right there. 5 picks, Dyson, 3 for Tank Williams, 2 for Tony Beckham. A couple singles, so I'm happy with the interceptions. Defense played fairly well. Yearly awards, now these usually look a little bit weird because, you know, obviously we're in 2002. It's going to just... But MVP hangs up. Rich Gannon is our league MVP in 2002. We get Peyton Manning, Trent Green, David Carr, Pennington, Brad Johnson. A lot of familiar names there. Coach of the year went to, obviously, again, coaches are fake. AFC Offensive Player, they went to Rich Gannon. Defensive Player, they went to Wally Rainier. I don't know. I've never heard of him. From Jacksonville, Jason Taylor, Zach Thomas, Jamie Sharper, London Fletcher, Junior Seau, all there. Obviously, like I said, the Rookies of the Year aren't really going to work out. But hey, awards nonetheless for our players. Ryan Leaf got one. Rocky Calvis got another. Peyton Manning is your best quarterback, best running back, Priest Holmes. Tim Brown, best wide receiver. Will Shields, best lineman. Jason Taylor, best defensive lineman. Junior Seau there for linebacker. Ty Law for DB. Vanderjack for kicker. So we're going to have a couple depth traits on our way to having the #1 overall pick in the draft. Now, I have no idea how we're going to approach free agency. Salary cap is turned off. That's just how Pink Slips works. I actually didn't even think about this. I was so focused on how we're going to make the draft work. I have no idea how we're going to make free agency work. Literally, I'm going to go with it as this video goes. I'm probably not going to sign anyone here because we don't have rules, and free agency things could get a little bit weird, especially with salary cap turned off. We'll look and see what guys are there. And I'll make a promise that we won't sign an elite guy, but maybe we can get a couple depth guys here or there that can help fill out our roster a little bit better. Just state as we complete our transition from the Titans to the Oilers and the Houston Texans, complete the transition to the San Antonio Marshalls. It's 2020. Everyone, round of applause for transitioning. Woo! But in 2002, the Eagles won the Super Bowl. So even though this is just some weird alternative reality, I would love the fact that in 2002, Philly would win the Super Bowl and we wouldn't have to wait forever and ever, as that was almost the first year. 02, 03 was the year I became an Eagles fan, so I would have been the ultimate bandwagoner jumping on the Eagles hype train after that 02 Super Bowl. So we're going to get a little hype here in free agency and try and bring in a lot of players, but when you look at the overalls, it makes sense. Basically, if outside of Seabass, Janikowski, one of my favorite kickers ever, hilarious kicker, want to bring him in forever. Peter Sermon, who we actually, not lost, but upgraded from in Pinks from beating the Colts, which were actually able to get Peterson. I just want to bring him back because we earned that dev trade with him, and I might move him inside at middle linebacker. Other than that, it's all just kind of death moves. We got Ricky Waters, a little bit of a legend, spent some time with the Eagles. We got Fred Miller, who's actually an upgrade at right tackle. He's only 72. Like, these guys are in their 30s, low 70s. Jason Sehorn. I'm not going to try to get the white corner. The only white corner since the 1960s. Gilbert Brown looked just outrageous. Look at what this guy looked like. Google image him. Used to play for the Green Bay Packers. And everything else, it's just upgrades. Like, I'm looking here. More so Cody McGrath, 69. I'm looking at depth guys. If I can get 3-4 point upgrades for our depth guys, it's going to help us in pink slips to get the best players possible. Like here, we don't have a depth linebacker. I'll get a 68 guy just behind him. 68 lineman. Just small little upgrades. Like, it's not like we're going out. It's a weak free agency class. Like, when you got special team like Joe Johnson, I like calling him Enos Williams. Yeah, Willie McGinnis. It's not a particularly strong free agency class, so we're just trying to add a little bit of depth there, not going too crazy. And I guess technically Sermon would be one of the most coveted free agents, but I just want to bring him back home. It's draft time, and like I said, it's still working the official rules for the draft right now. Just for this first year, the only rule is I have to draft within the round, and luckily I get the first pick in every round, so literally it's going to be a good time unless other teams start reaching, which is totally a possibility. But here we are at pick 1, round 1. Now, I do remember in the last Pink Slips, we drafted Andre Johnson. He was our guy. He was our monster that we had for, what was that team? We were the San Antonio Marshals. Andre Johnson is one of my favorite players of all time. He's a Houston legend. His combine is sick. However, I want to do something just a little different. And I think another time we did it, we got T-Sizzle. Like, I remember there was a point in time that there's one big player that we didn't get when we selected Andre Johnson. And he's a very, very polarizing player. And that is a guy, I like him a lot too. And that is Troy Polamalu at strong safety. I personally know that the strong safeties for the next couple of years are going to be pretty good. So the biggest thing for me is Sean Taylor's here next year. And I almost feel like that was the order. I can't remember. It's been so long since I did that. So you need to bear with me. This is my series, and I feel like I want to get my favorite players. It's really between Andre Johnson and Troy Polamalu this year. And the fact that you look at the best wide receiver next year, assuming we're still terrible. Next year's wide receivers, we got Larry Fitzgerald. You can get, Roy Williams, Lee Evans, Jericho Cottree. Like, it's a weak wide receiver class. You look at the DBs, especially safeties in particular. Bob Sanders at safety. You got Sean Taylor at safety. Dunta Robinson, D'Angelo Hall. It's a lot stronger DB class, and it's a particularly weak wide receiver class. So all that being said, I hate the fact that that's the only thing I really remember about the first time we did Flashback Franchise. Well, I got Andre Johnson. Well, getting him again. Sorry, not sorry. He's coming back to Houston. He's H-Town legend, 76, hidden dev trait. I had to do it. And my God, those baby blue uniforms look absolutely disgusting in every sense of the best possible way you could phrase that. Andre's the number 2 player. I assume the number 1 player in this draft would have been Troy Polamalu, probably. I mean, maybe T-Sizzle. It's probably Troy Polamalu, but I'm happy with Andre Johnson. Welcome to the Oilers. In the second round, this is how the board kind of shaped up. There's some interesting names that have slipped from the first round. You had Leftwich Bowler, Rex Grossman. You start looking at some of the guys. We can only pick up to the second round. So, really for how we scouted, there's some names. LJ Smith, Osi Umenyiora, Anquan Boldin. I do feel like we're about to implement some very strict rules for how we draft our players. So I should be trying to maximize our talent. And I remember the last time we did this, Osi Umenyiora was our next pick. So I'm going to double up at wide receiver, and we're going to get Anquan Boldin to be our slot to combine with Mr. Andre Johnson to give whatever we have at quarterback some better weapons. And Anquan Boldin comes out 69 hidden dev trade. Immediately he's going to be our starting slot. One of the most powerful, angry, running yard after the catch wide receivers I've ever seen. This is where a lot of teams start to reach and really draft good players. We're here in the 3rd round. It is a very, very light in terms of talent. White Lightning Kevin Curtis. You got Canadian legend, Good Morning Football star Nate Burleson. I think the pick for us, just going by our draft board, we are going to get Drayton Florence. And then maybe in round 4, we can start looking at one of these quarterbacks that are slipping just to bring in for competition. But Florence came out with a mid-2nd round in talent. The skills look fine. He's fast. He's strong. Why not? Drayton Florence in the 3rd round, 69, a normal, a dev trade, as well as a scheme fit. We have a 4th round pick, so we're sitting here in the 5th round, not biting on this guy, Calico, who has 4.3 speed at 6'4", 223. Trying to find the best, value here in the 5th round. It's probably going to be the punter, Mike Cyphers. Really good punter. Hate doing this, but it's literally with our own rules. We kind of have to do it. And he comes out hidden dev. Like, that's a really good punter. Yeah, sure. Hell yeah. 6th round, we actually don't have any of these 6th rounders scouted. All the players that we found that were good are gone. And I can't wait to get our chance to swing here at a UDFA. So we pretty much just gonna go best player available. Might as well pick the most pink slip guy in Calico. Who actually works out to be a 6th round talent. But at 6'4", 223 coming in with 4.36 speed. I mean, you kind of need to jump on that. He's a 60. He's a 60 D threat. Okay, pretty cheesy looking player there in the 6th round for the Houston Oilers. And then for the 7th round, I feel like in the 7th round, I mean, I just don't know how UDFA is going to work. Like, am I going to have a free shot at getting some of these guys? Or, like, I don't know the first wave of free agency. I've never done it. I guess we should abide by the rules and we'll learn and adjust for the next draft, because I just don't know that when we get to the point where we can sign free agents, does the computer have a shot to get all of these guys before we do? I mean, we don't have salary cap. It's not that important, but because clearly in this scenario, I would most likely get Mr. Antonio Gates, because we did have Tony Romo as our franchise quarterback in the first Flashback Franchise series. Don't want to double up with literally every player, but just sticking with the rule 7, you have to draft a guy in the round. We have Arnaz Battle here, another wide receiver, 60 overall. Kind of solid. Most likely not going to get a lot of playing time. So how we're going to wrap up this episode is, yeah, I kind of want to get some of these UDFAs, and then we'll wrap up everything to get ready for the 03 season here in Flashback Pinks. Draft recap, you literally just saw all of the picks, but we went heavy at wide receiver. 4 of our limited picks. I mean, we're not really that limited. We just didn't have a 4th rounder. We're wide receivers, Andre Johnson, Anquan Boldin. Firmly expect both these guys to contribute. Drayton Florence was a nice pick. We got a hidden dev trait punter in Mike Cyphers, and a couple, I don't know, definitely a cheesy pink slip style wide receiver. But obviously, I'm very pumped to get Andre Johnson, one of, if not my favorite wide receiver of all time. So looking at free agents, the UDFAs are all gone. That look good. No Tony Romo, no Antonio Gates. So knowing that information, we can adjust how we set the draft rules, especially for that 7th round, because every now and again, it might be nice to get one of the notable UDFAs, and we essentially had a chance at getting Antonio Gates, and instead, we got Arnaz Battle. So that'll wrap it up for this episode. Live and let learn. I'm still happy with our team. We got Ryan Leaf, who last year seemingly is trying to turn his career around. He will be our starting quarterback. We got Ricky Waters. We drafted Andre Johnson and Anquan Boldin. Hell to the yes. We are a better team than definitely what we were. Albert Hainsworth, superstar. We got Raheem Brock, Jason Sehorn, Andre Dyson, Mike Peterson, Sermon back in the fold. Special teams. We got 2 goddamn soon-to-be dev trait, a bull, kicker and punter, and Cyphers and Janikowski. We might as well get rid of this guy right now. Goodbye. We don't need 2 punters. No, thank you. And we're not rocking the baby blues. Even though it's not Jenica, I love those jerseys, man. The retro unis are back and in action, as you can see, just to show you that the other side of this whole, you know, moving this was making the Houston Texans, the Marshalls, paying homage to the first run-through that we did a Flashback Franchise, what was it, 2 years ago? So this is how we're going to wrap up the episode. We are now a 70 overall. I think we were, what, 60... 66. Literally, I probably, you know, you would be able to see if you went back to the beginning of the video. That was so long ago. But we were in the 60s, mid-60s for sure. And now we're kicking off year 2, this 2003 season, as a 70 overall squad, ready to make a goddamn mark as we actually finally get to come in and play with this team. It's a little bit more respectful. At least we have, you know, we're not that weird orange color for all of our team ratings. Got a little yellow in there. And hopefully we can get tanned up and be bronzed out sooner than later. So that does it for the episode, guys. I am, again, looking for more feedback, especially how we can really do the draft. The draft is the big hang-up at this point. I feel like we should have some sort of way that dictates what player I can draft within a given round based upon performance. And we also need to figure out what we can do in that 7th round to address the notable UDFAs, undrafted free agents, that we do scout or that we do recognize because we know they went on and had really good NFL careers. But that'll do it for you today. Thank you guys for watching today's video. As always, your first time stopping by, don't be afraid to hit that subscribe button. Smash the like button if you enjoyed. And until next time, it's C4 saying peace out.
Money I'm spending, I'm out and I'm shopping. You talking that shit, well you talking and talking. Look at my options, look at me dropping. Ass in the game, like who are you stopping? Not me, not me, not never. Not me, not me, not never. Not me, not me, not never. I'm way too clever. Look at the kid, Mr. Consistent, I'm doing it big. Way too persistent on taking your bitch. Here comes a monster to scare all you kids.